Hello dear students, you are welcome in this video. Dear students, in the last video we talked about six theist systems of Indian knowledge system or Indian philosophy. Now in this video we will talk about its opposite systems, and these opposite systems are atheist systems, and we have prominent three atheist systems in India which talks about atheism in the Indian philosophy or in the Indian religions. So let's understand what is atheism or atheist systems first, and after that we will consider these three systems. So first, what is atheist or atheism? Here you can see it's very simple. In Indian philosophy, several schools of thought do not accept the authority of Vedas. Now everything is depend on Vedas because there are six systems which considers their authority as Vedas, or Veda is at the fundamental of all these systems or at the base of all these theist systems. But in opposition we have atheist system, and in atheist system we find that they reject simply the authority of Vedas, and these Vedas are not important for atheist systems. Actually they are based opposite to the philosophy of Vedas and are thus considered heterodox or Nastika system. So it is a native word Nastika, and we have Astika in opposite to it, and there that is theist system. So since this is atheist system, it is called as Nastic system of philosophy or Nastic system of knowledge. And here it is heterodox. Heterodox means in opposition to. Hetero means opposite. So this is a opposite to the theist system. So we have six theist systems in India which we discussed in the last video, and we have three atheist systems. So let's consider the first system here, and here we have the first very prominent system which is Charvaka or Lokayata. It is also known as Lokayata system. This is the ancient system of knowledge which is completely based on materialism. So this is the core of this atheist system, materialism, known for radical skepticism, rejection of rituals and supernaturalism. So this is the philosophy of atheist system called Lokayata or Charvaka. As we all know about Charvaka and the principles of Charvaka, the philosophy of Charvaka, which is based on complete rejection of Vedas, the rejection of supernatural elements, the rejection of superstitions, the rejection of rituals. So they also do not consider rituals and the dharmas or the religions which are based on Vedas. For example, Hindu. So we have a very different ideology of this Charvaka system of knowledge or the Charvaka school of philosophy. Now let's understand some of the key concepts here in the Charvaka system or Lokayata system. So first is empiricism. Now what is empiricism? Empiricism is nothing but the direct relation, or we can say that the direct perception of things. So this is very important in Lokayata knowledge system or in Lokayata philosophy, or we generally understand that the people who follow Charvaka directly consider whatever there is, this is in the form of solid, or we find that they direct believe in the direct perception, means the pratyaksha, and as they only this pratyaksha or the direct perception is the only source, valid source of knowledge. Now from where do we get knowledge? We get knowledge from the direct sources, or the from direct perception or pratyaksha sources according to this Charvaka system or Charvaka principles, and they simply rejects the other source of knowledge which is considered as valid sources in the theist system, six theist systems. For example, we have inference. So they reject inference, means anumana. There is no place to anumana in Charvaka. Whatever there is direct perception, that is called as the knowledge, or they consider it as the valid source of knowledge. Second, we have comparison. Now comparison means upamana, so they also simply reject upamana and verbal testimony, means shabd, and they do not consider it as a valid source of knowledge or the valid source of information that we get, and hence we can say that it is completely opposite system to the theist system, and hence it is called as atheist system. The second key concept here we have materialism. So they consider only material entities exist. According to them, there is no other things, only they consider material things or material entities are the important entities on earth and only they exist according to Charvaka. They do not consider soul or afterlife. So this is at the core of their philosophy. There is no soul, there is no afterlife. So whatever we live in the present. So this is the philosophy of Charvaka or Lokayat systems. Next we have hedonism. So hedonism is also an important part of Charvaka system. Most of the times the other theist systems criticize Charvaka system due to hedonism. So, what is hedonism? Hedonism is nothing but pursuit of pleasure. They consider the pursuit of pleasure is the ultimate end or ultimate goal of human life, and hence they try to avoid pain. And this is the primary or the ultimate goal of life according to Charvaka system. And they have a very pragmatic approach towards uh, ethics and living, and hence this system is criticized. So they consider that there is no the things like ethics or ethical living in the life of human beings, because they have a very different or opposite kind of theist system, and hence it is most of the times criticized by the other followers of the other systems. The next concept here we have rejection of rituals. So this is also a very important concept in Charvaka or Lokayata system. They simply dismisses rituals, sacrifices, and authority of Vedas as superstitions and meaningless practices. According to them, whatever we follow in Vedas or in theist system, these all practices are meaningless practices, and there is no value of these practices in human life, and they are simply non-existence or non-beneficial practices to human life according to them or the followers of the Charvaka system or Lokayata system. So they dismisses ritual sacrifices and authorities of Veda. They are completely opposite to the Vedas or whatever propagated there in Vedas, the philosophy of Vedas. So I think this is all about the Lokayata system. Now let's consider the second system, and we have very prominent second system, that is Buddhism. And Buddhism is a major world religion. We find Buddhism in so many countries around the world, and the founder of Buddhism is Siddhartha Gautama, who is popularly known as Buddha. So we all know about Buddha and his philosophy. So let's understand in brief what is there in the Buddhism. So this is a major world religion, and it is based on there is no permanent self or atma or a creator or god. They also do not believe in creator or god, or they do not believe in permanent soul. According to Buddhism, there is no such a thing called permanent soul or Atma. So, this is at the core of the Buddhism or at the core of the philosophy of Buddhism. Now, let's understand a few concepts in Buddhism. Key concepts. There are so many concepts and there are so many teachings and preachings we find in all these systems or all the in all these religions. But here we are just focusing on few important practices, few important concepts. Here we have a very first important concept in Buddhism, that is four noble truths, and they are called as suffering. Suffering is the truth of human life, which is nothing but dukkha or dukkha, sorrow, suffering, sorrow. Then we have cause of suffering. There is a cause of suffering. If there exists a suffering, there must be exist a cause of suffering, and we must uh, go to that cause of suffering to eliminate the suffering. So this is called as samudaya, cause of suffering. Then the third noble truth we have, end of suffering, nirod. So if there exists a suffering, there is a way to remove that suffering, or we can control that suffering, and it is called as nirod. And last truth we have, path leading to end of suffering, which is called as magga. Now we have this four truth. We have suffering, then cause of suffering, then nirod, and last magga. So we can remove suffering or we can overcome on the suffering. And Buddha provides us with a eightfold ways to leading nirvana, and these eight fold ways, here we have noble eightfold path, and this leads to the nirvana. If a human being wants to go to nirvana or reach at the position of nirvana, he must go through this eightfold noble paths. The very first path, here we have right view, which is called as samyak drushti. Very important. Right view means we must see the things, and our very thinking must be right, or samyak. Here it is clearly stated. Then we have right intention, which means samyak sankalp. We must have right intention while living life, or we must follow the samyak sankalp. This is the second noble path. The third path, right speech, which is called as samyak vani. We should speak pure, we should speak with a very considerate soul, very considerate heart to others. So this is a right speech. Then we have right action, which is called as samyak karma. We must follow samyak karma, or we should do good things in our life. We should not spoil our life with the bad things. It's a very simple or clear meaning of the fourth way or fourth path. Then we have fifth path, right livelihood. And what is in right livelihood? Samyak jivika. So we should lead our life very calmly or peacefully, without any kind of we can say that dushkarma or bad things just doing in our life. The sixth path, we have right effort, samyak vyayam. We should take right effort to lead to the nirvana. The seventh, here we have path mindfulness, samyak smriti, which is also important in Buddhism. And the last path, here we have right consciousness, samyak samadhi. This is the last, or we can say that the most important thing in our life, or in the life of human being. So the goal or the ultimate end of our life should be samyak samadhi. We should lead to that position, we should go to that position uh, to achieve the nirvana in human life. So these are the eightfold paths which lead to nirvana in Buddhism. Now here we have third system, atheist system, which is Jainism. And Jainism also is a religion, and an important religion in India today also. So Mahavira or Vardhamana is the founder of Jainism, or the Jain philosophy, or the Jain school of knowledge. And this Jainism or Jain school of knowledge is completely based on three principles, very important three principles. First principle, we have non-possessiveness, means aparigraha. Its second principle, the first principle is non-violence, means ahimsa. Then second principle, non-possessiveness, and the third principle we have here, anekantavad. So there is a scope to anekantavad. In a way, we can call, or we can say that the Jainism accepts other views too, as leading to reality or leading to truth. So anekantavad is an example, or this is the very core of Jainism. Now some important concepts here we have in Jainism. The first is ahimsa. Ahimsa is nothing but the complete non-violence. If you look at the followers of Jainism or the Jain monks, you find that they wear white clothes, they just mask their mouth, and they lead their life very calmly and peacefully. And they also believe as human being is a living entity in the same way other creatures, right from the insects to the big animals or huge animals, they also are living beings, and we must respect them. So this is the concept of ahimsa in Jainism, and they respect for all living beings. Then anekantavad, the second concept important. It is said that in Jainism, truth and reality is a very complex phenomena, and to go to truth and reality, we must accept all the point of views, and this could be understood only by multiple perspectives. One perspective is not enough to understand truth and reality, because according to Jainism, it is a complex phenomena, and to understand this complex phenomena, we must be open minded, we must open our mind and accept other views too, and there should be multiple perspectives. Through one perspective we cannot understand truth and reality. And we have the tolerance view in Jainism. So these people are very tolerant people, and they accept all the good things from all around them. So this is the view, and hence we find that Jainism is a very differently religion in India, and we can say that there is similarity between Buddhism and Jainism. Ahimsa also is one of the principles in Buddhism, and in the same way in Jainism. But if you look at the followers of Jainism, you find that they very seriously follow this principle of Ahimsa in their life. So this is what we can say that the Jainism have at its core. The next here we have important principle or key concept, that sadvada. Sadvada is nothing but conditional statement. Now what is conditional statement? Conditional statement is nothing but all statements are relative and context dependent. So this is the sadvada philosophy. It means in simple words that all statements are relative and context dependent. So there is no any permanent statement, there is no any permanent thing. The whole world is constantly changing, and it is in a state of flux, it is in a state of change, and hence it is based on the context or relative. So these are the relative things and context dependent things. Next concept here in Jainism we have karma. Now what is karma? Karma is nothing but subtle matter binds to the soul. So they talks about soul, and subtle matter binds to the soul. Then liberation by purifying the soul. So how a human being could reach to moksha, or how he get liberated from the shackles of these worldly things, or from the cycle of death and birth and rebirth. So this path is leading by liberating and purifying the soul. So it is very important. And how a human being can purify his or her soul? So the concept of moksha is given for that. And in moksha we find that it is the ultimate goal of human life, and this liberation and moksha could be achieved through ethical living. So these are the means: meditation and self discipline. So these three things are very important if a human being wants to liberate himself or herself from the shackles or cycle of birth and death or rebirth. Now we have next concept, that is 5 O's of monks. Now if you look at the Jain monks, you find that they very strictly and seriously follow these 5 O's. And what are those 5 O's? Here we have very first, non-violence, which is ahimsa. Second, we have truth, which is satya, they follow it. Then we have non-stealing, which is asteya, and celibacy next. So celibacy is nothing but brahmacharya. If you look at the followers of or the monks of Jain, you find that they follow this celibacy very seriously and strictly, and they have very hard kind of things uh, in their life while this following this celibacy or practicing this celibacy. And then we have the last O, that is non-possession or aparigraha. So they do not have we can say that more things in their life. Only they take those things which are very essential and without which human being could not live. So this non possessiveness or aparigraha is one of the major principles in the life of Jain monk. So I think these are the important concepts in Jainism. I hope you got the idea of this three atheist system. The first is Charvaka or Lokayata, second is Buddhism, and the third is Jainism. And we also discussed about some of the principal key concepts and their core philosophy in all these atheist systems. If you have any problem, any query, you can comment below in the comment box. We will solve your problem. Let's meet in the next video. Thank you very much.